I'm John Sargent, and it's December 2021. We're in San Francisco at the Fairmont Hotel at the California Alarm Association.
I'm Charlie Darsch with the Security Museum.
Nathan Rousted from Wayne Alarm Systems.
And I'm Ralph Sevenor from Wayne Alarm Systems and the Security Museum. We're delighted to have you here. We've been collecting artifacts for over 25 years, and we saw the need to really put all the people together that have created such a great industry. A lot to learn in this. Thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to your comments in the future as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Sargent. I'm here with Charlie Darsch, and we're talking with Jarl Saal of First Alarm today. Jarl, I know you've been in the business a long time, and I'd like to maybe start out with, tell us a little bit about the beginning, even before the beginning. I know a little bit about your story. Before you got into the industry, what was your thoughts on what you wanted to do?
I was a commercial fisherman, and I all of a sudden realized that that was a seasonal job, and I decided I should go to college. And I had no idea what I was going to college for, but I ended up being in the law enforcement program. And being young and impressive, I quickly became infatuated with having a career in law enforcement.
And was this down in the Monterey area?
Yes, it was a career college in Eplos.
Okay. What year was that?
1966. And I'm happily going along, going through school, and I was burglarized. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And
This is early in that career?
this was while I was a student.
A student.
And it made me realize that law enforcement was an enforcement business. So when there was a crime happening, they were there to provide the enforcement. But and I had great confidence that law enforcement would resolve my burglary. Who did it? And let's say my bubble was popped.
Yeah. Wow.
They were not efficient. I was able, with hundreds of hours of pounding the pavement, determine who burglarized me. But the inefficiency of that was not acceptable. And prevention became my idea, because obviously you've got to prevent it to be efficient, because you can't resolve it after it's happened. So I started looking at security. I started off in the guard business, and that to me was a deterrent business. And I quickly realized that a guard could only be in one place at one time. So for that reason, I became interested in alarm systems. Mm-hmm. And there was a gentleman in our town who had a guard and alarm company. And I basically trained with him.
And what year was that?
That was still 66.
It was. And what was the company that you...
Santa Cruz Security Patrol. And John Nutt was the gentleman's name. And John was not necessarily in the best health. So in order to learn the alarm business, basically was his grunt and did whatever he needed done. I was the one crawling in the small places, running up and down the stairs. Mm-hmm. I was doing all the labor, and he was telling me what to do. And anyway, just kept going forward with that, and I started getting some, doing whatever research I could into the industry, and I found this company called Ademco.
Okay.
And gave him a call, and signed myself up for their 1-week school, which taught you how to be in the alarm business.
1 week?
It's 1 week, and it taught you everything.
And again, what year was that?
That would have been 67 by then,
Okay.
maybe even 68.
It was, they had that for a number of years.
Yes. And anyway, it was a 1-week crash course, and with desire and drive, I ended up being in the guard and the alarm business.
Mhm.
I liked the alarm business for its efficiency. I liked the guard business for its personal interaction. So
So this was still Santa Cruz alarm or security environment?
so the first name that the company operated under was Seascape Security.
Seascape, okay.
And it was a Teamster-owned development, and they had to, or financed by them, and they had to foreclose on it.
Oh,
And they needed security, and that would be me. And just one thing led to another, and I was, this is kind of a cute story, I thought I was the world's greatest salesman
okay.
because I had their lending records, and I knew who they were loaning money to, which gave me a great list of people to call upon.
Wow.
So I would call up these people and offer them security. And I didn't quite figure out the first gentleman that called me up and said, "What's this guy doing out here at my place?" And anyway, the conversation kind of wound down, that was it. And then the second person who said that to me, I was starting to figure it out, and we talked for a few minutes, and these people thought they were paying protection money.
Oh.
They didn't think they were really getting a guard.
Interesting.
Was this because of the background of the company?
Right, the Teamsters and the lending, and they just thought that there was somebody was putting the strong arm on them.
Interesting.
It is, that is. And again, the year was
In the 60s,
in the mid-60s?
yes.
Okay.
And anyway, it was just great intentions and a little fear on the behalf of would-be customers. I was building a business, and the reason I was building it up, this was also when the UFW was coming into play, and there were other Teamsters represented companies in the produce business. So I was having to build up a bunch of guards in a hurry. And so when I found that list of who they had been lending money to, I just started calling.
Now, did the business with those that you were hiring were again in the walking business? I mean, they were.
Yes, it was primarily guards, but at the same.
That was a guard service business.
Yes, but at the same time, I was developing the alarm business. Because again, the limits of the guard company is a guard can only be in one place at a time per guard, where an alarm can be there all the time. And so that again was the efficiency that excited me for the alarm business.
Did you have any other form of competition back in those days down in Monterey, Santa Cruz, Carmel area?
There was actually quite a bit, and but they were all smaller companies. One time I remember we had a rash of burglaries, and a bunch of us were uninstalling alarm systems in the eyesight of each other, because everybody wanted an alarm now, and those people that are out there installing those alarms turned into companies like Cypress Alarm and Bolt Alarm.
Sure.
And some well-known people within our trade. So kind of everybody, there were a lot of people there in the Santa Cruz area, and we kind of all went our own direction and found our homes and developed successful companies.
So where did you go in with the company after that time frame there? Where did you get to, First Alarm?
So the next step was I really started getting interested in fire systems. I could see, they were there permanently, was it. And so I started pursuing that as well. At this time, right then, the company was, it was a partnership, because when I started it, I had no idea what to do. So I went out to a gentleman I went to school with and asked him if he wanted to be a partner, and he said, sure. So I said, well, how about you take 40%, I take 60.
Okay.
I wasn't an astute businessman at that point, but that was what I did. And he, in turn, over a little period of time, sold off 10%, 10%, 10%. He had 10%. So all of a sudden, there were several of us. But we were growing the business, and we were complementing each other and going well. And then one of the partners had a different idea. So we kind of started to go in different directions. And I basically ended up going my own way. And that's when I really put the emphasis of my business on alarms.
At that time, how many systems might the company have had at roughly?
Less than 100.
Less than 100. Now that included both fire and bird?
Yes. To regress back when I started off, I just had gone to the Demco school. I was all hot. I went out and went to the gentleman, John Nutt, worked up in the Santa Cruz part of the town, and Watsonville was the other town in our county. And I went to Watsonville, and for 3 days, I walked every single commercial business in the town. And I sold nothing. I got one request for garden service. So I, in turn, went back to my mid-county area, and I went to a real estate company, and they bought my services. And I then went to another real estate office. That was the next day, and they signed up. I went down the street to a doctor's office, and they signed up. I got another real estate office, and they signed up, and another doctor's office, all in one day. So I was on top of the world.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I had to install these. So I was a salesman by day, an installer by night. And,
the equipment that you were using at that time?
A Demco.
That was a Demco. They had an office in that area, obviously. So, on the West Coast?
Yeah, West Coast.
Yeah, of course.
But anyway, it just kind of kept building. And another cute story was I got a call from my walking in the town of Watsonville from a large business, and they were having a lot of problems with the burglaries they were having. And I went out and met with the gentleman, and we were walking this building, and he told me that they were broken into at least once every 10 days, if not once a week. And I looked at this building, the doors and the door frames, and it was just, you know, looked like a war zone to me. And he mentioned to me that the people that broke in there were either illiterate or couldn't read English. And that's where the idea in my mind, kind of the light went off. And I came up with First Alarm logo, which was a badge. Because they had Wells Fargo Alarm. Wells Fargo Alarm had installed a very good alarm system. But they were at least an hour away for service. And they'd be breaking in the middle of the night. And it just wasn't working for the customer or Wells Fargo. And I called up Wells Fargo, I'm sure with a tremble in my voice, and they sold me an account for $50.
What?
And they had a lot of money in it. This is a 10,000 square foot building with ultrasonic detection throughout the interior and full perimeter. But the thing that came out of that was the First Alarm logo being a badge, because over the years, that badge enabled a lot of sales. Because I could tell that story, and a lot of people just could easily connect the dots that badge said there was security there, where with the Baker Industry Wells Fargo logo, it didn't do anything to instill that there was security. And shortly after that, in the town of Watsonville, the Business Association had done a survey of what was the best known logos. And the Coke bottle came out as number one.
Which one did?
Coke.
Coke.
Oh, that's
And number two came out First Alarm.
Is that right?
Because there were so many of those decals on every business in town. And obviously they're on every business, then they're on every home.
Now the systems that were in were both business and homes, you say?
Yes.
The response was by whom?
Law enforcement, mostly.
Law enforcement, okay, so that, and when the system was armed and it went off, did that automatically go to the security? Did you have a central station, or how was the response?
I had some systems set up in police departments. I had a fire alarm receiver in the county communication center.
Really?
And I had a central station, if you can call it that, consisting of one person, which was often me.
Oh.
In your bedroom?
No, we had a real office, and we staffed it 24 hours a day.
Ah, you did.
And that started when we had 2 alarm systems.
Now, roughly what year was this then?
Be again mid-60s.
Again, within that.
Things happened quickly.
Oh,
I was ambitious.
okay.
And it was just a very fun, exciting time.
How many people were in your operation, your business operation, at that time?
I built it up to 50 pretty quick.
50.
50.
That included both installers and
guards.
Responders?
Guards.
Yes.
And this was 24/7 working.
Yes. And so another incident I mentioned in UFW, we had a lot of guards out where those events were taking place, and it also caused a lot of alarm business because we had to protect structures. So it was a very interesting time.
Yeah, yeah. So then, how did you grow the business after that? I mean, so you're a full-service security company. Did you then get into do some acquisitions?
The acquisitions were small. I'd say the company was, and when I say small, I'm talking often less than 10 accounts in an acquisition.
Oh, okay.
So it was really an organically growing business.
Mm-hmm.
I driving down the road and I'd see somebody standing out by a building or looking at a house, I jumped up and said hi.
Yeah.
And I was often, I can remember on more than one occasion running into someone looking at a home for sale, and they hadn't even bought the home, and I was selling them a security system for it.
Huh. So now, fast forward to today, you know, and you're still in there, fully involved with the business, right?
I did a little more than 40 hours a week, maybe double that.
Yeah. Have you ever thought, you know, about retiring, or, you know, what's your look as far as the future goes?
Well, 3.5 years ago, I sold the guard portion of the business. I would have never done it, but I worked with a great gentleman for 20 years plus running that part, and he said he wanted to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him a list of things that needed to be done, and he did them all and more. Mm-hmm. So he's now retired, but I'm still working.
Yes.
Is the alarm business completely separated then from the response?
Yes. Yeah. We're strictly contracting out to the guard companies or law enforcement for all our response.
Anything else? I mean, at this point, you know, the floor is open. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this?
I just think I'm very blessed. I've had a wonderful life. I've met many phenomenal people. I've worked with many phenomenal people. The team I have right now are just great, and we're kind of going through a rebuild. But I'm still excited every day to go to work. I believe in this business. You get to use your mind, your body. You get to meet people in need. You are able to provide them a solution. I just, you know, I walk down the street and people are always coming up to me and, you know, saying hi and how thankful they are. I've gotten letters that are just, you know, unbelievable of appreciation. How people said that putting in a security system changed their life. They were able to relive their life. They were able to leave their home. So it's, you know, it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of fire systems that have saved lives. There's even we've had quite a few alarm systems in various ways responsible for saving people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Jarl. Hey, it's a real pleasure to have you here today and talk to you. And
it was great. We enjoyed listening to your background on this.
All right.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.